And I think we need to go through, boy, the protocol, I don't know. 100%.
Okay, I'm looking at the agenda, deposition of minutes, and I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
All in favor, approve.
Aye.
Aye.
And I don't have in front of me.
All right, the next meeting is February 8th at 5:30. And then we have old business is the Prisley Award.
And
do we have an update on that?
Well, I would think Joanne that our chair would be the one that would have the update, and she's not with us. So, Paul, do you know?
I don't know.
I do not have an update on it.
All right, who's the point person on the ridges and and I was the point person on the Pilcher house. I'll just discuss that. I did attend, I viewed the building. I went ahead and submitted a bid, just a low bid, just to see how it was going. You do have to do a request for public records to find out who bid and who was awarded the bid. I figure the news media is going to do that faster than I can, so it'll come out. And when that does happen, I will try to reach out to the new owners and tell them about all the great things that can be done with the assistance of this group.
I looked at the map and I felt that Pilcher was in our district. But John Valentor, you said that you thought it wasn't. Could we get some clarity on that, please?
According to the original map, 1982, it's not included in the district, as far as I could tell. I'm in the historic district from the National Register.
Right. I thought when I looked at the lines on the map, copy of the map that I had, it was. That's all. I don't know. I'll check it again.
I believe it is, John.
Oh, it is?
I believe so. Yeah.
From the national.
I thought so.
It's okay. So it is in the national district designation.
So it's under our jurisdiction,
Well, that's
Guy,
good.
and that should make it really important for that conversation for whomever bought it, because they need to know they got to go through us to do stuff.
That's right, but also some of the requirements of whoever's a successful bidder, it wasn't just a matter of who paid the most for it. There were a lot of things. It cannot be residential. It can't be a bar. It can't be a tattoo parlor. They kind of spelled out what it can and cannot be. And so I just heard recently that an attorney may be looking at purchasing it, and that would be a perfectly appropriate use for it, turning it into attorneys' offices. But there's a lot of things that you're not allowed to do it with it. So I think they spelled out something in the agreement that it is part of the National Historic Register, and whoever bought it would have to follow those guidelines. I think that was in there. I can't recall for sure.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Guy. Those were all in the requirements for the proposals that were submitted?
Yes. They did a pretty nice job with it. It's going to, I was terribly opposed to the university selling it, but they chose to sell it. But they did put together a lot of requirements, so I think it'll be in good hands.
Well, I think that if we have at least some kind of influence in the development of that property, we're good. Whoever owns it. I don't care who bought it.
That's right. They have to follow the rules.
My understanding is that there's 3 bids submitted, and one was submitted, but I don't know, or was accepted. I don't know who, how much, etc. I wasn't provided any of those details. I did ask, but I did not ask in the form of a public record request.
I hope it wasn't me.
Yeah, I would assume you would know, but maybe not.
Well, one of the other 2 bidders was Bob Toy, and I don't know who the third one was. Do you, Mark?
No, but that'd be great for Bob's office.
Yeah.
The building next door upstairs, and I used to be in that building. The Pilcher house would be a major improvement for him.
Yeah. You got to walk up a lot of stairs to get to Toy's office now. And he doesn't want to keep those clients away.
He's getting too old to walk up the steps anyhow.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I don't have the agenda in front of me here, and that sounds good in terms of what's going on with that particular piece of property in Athens. I mean, if we have some kind of play in the development of it, I think that I'm happy about that, considering all the things that have happened that we don't have any influence in the city right now. So,
John, the next thing is new business, and I propose that we go ahead and jump to new business, knowing that we're going to come back to old business and discuss the Prisley Award here in a bit. But under new business is the capital budget. And Richard, you sent us out some information on that.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, but every 2 years the state has a capital budget. A lot of it goes for schools, some goes for the university. There's some university money, and there's been in recent years some money that have gone for historical preservation projects of one sort or other. Paul could probably fill us in on the details. The budget this year, as I read it, and I got this because the governor appointed me to a commission on the budget, so I get stuff sent me, and and I happen to get it, and I figured it's public information. There was a good bit of money in there for a category that, as the number 9 on that list that I sent, that indicated, among other things, historical projects. The word historical was explicitly mentioned. And if Athens County were to get the same amount of money per capita as the state average, we would be getting a little over $1 million of that money. That doesn't mean we will get $1 million. Southeast Ohio doesn't always get its share, but at least the potential is there for a moderately significant amount of money. Now, I don't know anything about historical preservation. I don't know what Pam knows or what Cyrus knows or what Paul knows or John knows. I know a little bit about politics, though. And I think it would be wise if the Athens community, however that is defined, gets together behind 1 or 2 projects collectively and promotes it aggressively and early with our representatives in the House and in the Senate, and we get behind something. Mark and I had sort of an informal conversation, and we've talked about for years the problem with the Mount Zion Church needing money. Maybe we should all I'm just mentioning that as an example. There are no doubt other projects that others could mention, but maybe we should meet with the Mount Zion people and I'm just throwing this out for discussion as one idea, and say, why don't we get together and propose that we spend X many dollars, propose a budget of X many dollars, whatever that is, maybe as much as $1 million. I don't know. And that the Athens Historical Preservation Commission, or whatever we are, is behind the idea, and that the Mount Zion Historical Society is behind the idea, and whatever. Now, someone else may have another idea. I'm not necessarily promoting that idea. I am promoting the idea, though, we ought to try to get some money. I'll shut up.
Richard, I looked at that just briefly, and I kind of struggle reading budgets and all. But what are the parameters of that? Because I don't know of any fund that the state has that helps private people,
well,
or
Paul,
community groups to do historic projects. And if it's $1 million to our 65,000 people in the county, you'd think you'd hear more of it from Columbus and all.
Paul can speak to that, because we have money in the past.
I can talk a little bit. There's the pool of money that I'm most familiar with is they generally have in the capital budget cultural affairs money, or cultural facilities money, I think. And I'm not sure if this is the exact same pool or a different pool, Richard, but that money has, it used to only go, I think initially back in the 80s or 70s, maybe even that far back. It was originally designated to build sports stadiums in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And then they started giving money to arts facilities in the big cities as well. And I think when the Kasich administration came in, Governor Kasich changed some of that to spread that money out to all 88 counties. Maybe it might have been before Governor Kasich. I don't want to give him credit if he's not entitled to it. But the cultural facilities money that has been awarded numerous times to people in Athens County, including the Dairy Barn, Stewart's Opera House, I believe Ohio University. Some of their theaters and things like that have been awarded money for that. Athens, we've asked for it within the city of Athens for the Armory in the past. I think we've asked for it twice. We haven't received it. Can't say I'm surprised by that, but we've gone through that process of, packaging all the materials. It's typically about 20 pages worth of documents that they ask for, and you send it off to all the state representatives and state senators in your district and ask them to help you. And then, of course, try to get any other stakeholders to provide letters of support. And then they all start, figuring out how to give that money out. Richard, can I just clarify? This is for fiscal year 21-22?
I think it's I thought it was a biennial number.
Yeah.
Fiscal 21 to June 30th, 23, probably. But Paul, I haven't made any phone calls on this or anything. I received this from the Office of Budget Management, which is the official state agency in charge of finances, and I'm on their economics roundtable, which is advisory group to discuss, to recommend ultimately to the governor, how much money he has to spend, or the state or the legislature has. And we're in the middle of that process. In the course of that, a document was sent my way that listed, and I thought maybe there was a cultural component like you're talking about, but a second component. I'll have to look at it. You may have the document I don't have the document in front of me right at this moment. There may be an item 8 and an item 9. There's a couple items in there which might be candidates. But one of them clearly even used the word historical. And when I saw the word historical, I thought, my gosh, if that isn't something we might be involved in, whether it be for the Armory or for the, as I mentioned, Mount Zion, Ada, what's her name, Mark? Ada Adams, is it?
Yeah, Ada Adams called me on something else over the weekend, and she's been very instrumental in that, as well as the Chester Hill project, the cultural, her husband kind of put that together. anyhow, I just asked her how the Mount Zion was going, and she started talking and talked about her vision of having not only that church, but the brick house next door and the little house behind it, and have that be part of a historical tour. And I told her I was the newbie on this board and knew very little, but if we could help her, we would welcome her to come talk to us and hear how we could help. And then Rich sent this email about the state having some money. So she would, I'm sure, come to attend one of our virtual meetings and talk to us about that project and what they need, and if anybody's interested in doing that. So.
Well, you know, Ada and I had worked together for years, and I did the work in Chester Hill for her. But I don't know if we're the people she needs to come to get that money. I mean, I've, worked with her. I mean, gosh, I can't tell you how long I've known Ada. And she's always looking. And
yeah,
we are, I don't know if we can really help her get the money in any way. I mean, maybe lead her towards somebody that can help her get the money. So, right. I mean, I'm sure she's right after whatever is going on.
Yeah.
Mount Zion does have a grants committee that's searching for grants all the time and looking and writing them. I've participated and I've helped them write a few grants. This is definitely something if this is the same pool of money, Richard, I know it's on their radar. I think they'd be asking for fiscal year 22 to 23.
Perhaps, yeah.
Or is it it's a biennial, isn't it? And
I thought it was, it's a biennial. Traditionally, that's been a biennial appropriations, I think, Paul. I'm going from memory here, and I may be wrong.
Yeah.
It's a capital budget, correct?
It's a capital budget, yeah.
Capital is biennial, definitely.
Mm-hmm. It's just money. It's not a grant per se. It's just money that they'll flow down.
Can you hear me at all or no?
Yeah.
Marianne, can you hear me?
Hi, Marianne.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I've been involved in this in the past, and it's usually the representatives of an area or something like that who put these up. I'm thinking of the Noble County Fairgrounds. We built grandstands one year, that was some years ago, and things like that. I think actually Peden Stadium got a grant one year, and just so many different things. Whether it really is preservation related or not, I don't know. They look at something and think it's old, okay, then that's it. Then they give money. But I don't remember there being much about preservation. They actually redid these projects. So I think you need to go to your state representatives or whoever and start with them.
Marianne, I completely agree with you. All I was suggesting is that maybe one of us, or maybe more than one of us, ought to make some informal phone calls to people like Jay Edwards or whoever and say, hey, we read something about this. Is this money available? How do you get it, etc.? And then if the answer is yes, this money is available, or we can compete for, by we, I don't necessarily mean the Historical Preservation Board. If people in Athens can compete for this money, we as representatives of the Athens community should be promoting having groups, and it may not be just Ada's group, it might be other groups, try to get some of it. But I do think it would be a mistake if we put in for 42 different projects for Athens County, because we won't get it. And we'd be better off going with one or two really sexy, stellar projects that sound good, and to promote a church that has enormous historical significance, reaches to the African American heritage of the state of Ohio. I think would have some sex appeal to it, if I may use that term. And maybe we ought to think about, asking Jay Edwards may know nothing about it too, but he can call and make talk. And our senator, who is our senator, Hoagland, whoever.
Portman, I think.
Yeah, but that's our national. But this is state money.
Oakland, yeah.
It would
So-
be Frank, and Frank is an interesting character to deal with. You have to have a good bit to drink before you even bother to talk with him. But for some reason, I get along with him real well. And
Maybe you drink enough, Rich.
This is a public meeting.
he has it is. Well, I think sobriety is an overrated virtue. Anyway.
Just so everybody's aware, I was able to pull up while you were discussing some information relating to. So that was this was approved in the capital budget bill was approved last month, and for our region, it says for Athens County there was $625,000 that were awarded. Of that, it looks like $200,000 was given to the Ohio Valley Museum of Discovery. $75,000 was given to Southeast Ohio History Center. It looks like Hocking College might have received $300,000 for, it just says the Hocking Aquaculture Project. And Pomeroy received some funding for a bike path. Rutland got money for a pool. There's something called Village Productions Building Renovations. I'm not sure what that is.
I know what it is.
Bluffington Island Civil War Battlefield Museum received $100,000. Meigs County Historical Society received $100,000. Harmar Pedestrian Bridge Restoration received $50,000. People's Bank Theater in Marietta received $200,000. Vinton County Fairgrounds received $50,000. Etc. That I don't see anything else that looks like it was for Athens County or the city of Athens, but
The money has already been allocated, is what you're saying.
correct. Yeah, it was approved last month, and it'll be kicking in on July 1.
Okay. Well, maybe there's nothing there.
So what we would want to do is that money. It's very, to Richard, to your point, it is very political. It is all of that horse trading that you just described. It is lobbying elected officials to make it happen, and is getting them on your side to really move it forward. Like I said, we've asked several times in the past for Athens and haven't had luck. We have tried our best to lobby Senator or Representative Edwards as well as Senator Hoagland. Cyrus, if you'll recall, we had when we did the Armory Day events, we did have Senator Hoagland down and Representative Edwards, and they both gave speeches in front of the Armory. My understanding is Senator Hoagland really is likes to give money towards military related things, and so that was one of our thoughts, was we could work with him on that. But what we'd really the process would be to start putting a package together, typically next year, and then getting that to them for the following fiscal year. I don't think they'd be voting on this package of money again for until December of 2022. I think it's every 2 years they do the capital budget.
I think so too. I'm not positive, but I think it is biennial.
And I also think, Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they cut a lot of the capital budget out during the pandemic. They started slashing how much money they were going to put into the capital budget, I believe.
I think that is true. That is true. The state's fiscal condition, if for any of you are interested, is surprisingly good right now. The state, I don't want to get off the topic too much, but just as one little factoid, there's new data came out today that I haven't looked at yet, but sales tax revenues are 6% ahead of last year. Ahead of last year. Pandemic or no, even with the pandemic, the states, and of course they're getting stimulus money from the feds. So the state's got a lot of money. Now the capital budget is separate from the current operating budget, but I think the environment isn't too bad to start thinking about us being more proactive, and rather than letting this money just go away, go $100,000 to the Meigs County Historical Society. Yeah, sounds like a lot of money. Relative to Athens, we're twice as big as Meigs County.
Richard, we are not the ones that can do this, though. It's the people in Athens.
No, I know, but we can be encouraging them. We can go to them. We can be proactive. We don't just have to sit back and listen. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm off. It's crazy. Anyway, I'll call Jay Edwards and ask him, take him out to lunch and be like a lobbyist and, buy him a drink or two and say, hey, when's the next time this money's going to come available? And then we can let people in the community who might be interested in this know. And
I really think you have to have those people already on board.
Yeah.
So that they can shuffle right in.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't have the ability to understand how to get this money, but a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And like Ada, bless her heart, I can't believe that lady is doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she deserves a lot more.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of her work in the genealogy programs for the history of Athens County. Phenomenal. She works so hard and gets so little.
Yeah.
And she doesn't affect us in the historic district of Athens. I understand that. But these are people in Athens County that are working real hard.
Do we need some sort of motion on this that we can vote on? If so, I'll present one.
I don't really know, Guy. I'm the one who brought the topic up. This is sort of an informational thing to me. I would favor us checking into the possibilities of this money generally for historical purposes in Athens to see when the next opportunity is. I don't know if we need to have a motion on it. Can we just go ahead and...
I don't think we need a motion. I don't think.
Rich, just take Hoagland and Jay Edwards to lunch.
Yeah. That'll be memorable. Anyone you want to come with me, you're welcome.
Well, hopefully Mary Ann's there so she can do the protocol on this meeting here, which I'm totally failing at for the next step here.
Just so everybody's aware, I did put in the chat a link to the list from Representative Edwards' Ohio House website, if you need to see it.
Okay.
And Mary Ann, since you did jump in late, one thing that I think we were going to jump back to old business once you logged on.
Okay. Okay, so we're on old business.
Correct.
Okay, is someone else leading the meeting today? I'm sorry.
Well, I tried, but I was totally...
Go ahead, John.
No, it's all you.
There's just two items in old business.
Right. The Prisley Award, and I can tell you I have not finished writing that short history because so many histories have been done about that church already. But I will do something week.
I was thinking that what we were doing was working up the language for the
plaque.
The plaque.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And that's got to be pretty short.
I think the way we worded the last one that we drafted, I think that was excellent. We should just do the same thing. Very short and sweet.
Okay, well, that one was actually long.
I thought we cut it.
When it comes to getting the plaque done.
I thought we did a second version, Guy, that was short. Did we just...
I thought we did too.
I'm just saying there's a lot fewer words that you can put on those plaques before the type gets really small fast. And I recall that was, we edited it, and it still was, it was the smallest type you could get for a plaque like that. So just keep it small, short.
Okay. Yeah, just keep it really small and short. I don't know, how many words can we have? Does anybody remember? Something like 20?
It was a lot more than that, but do you happen to have what we did for the last one?
Probably do. I don't have it with me, but
Well, of course not, but yeah, just certainly no more than that, and probably try to get it less.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, and Paul, I think you were going to ask different people if they wanted to. And I don't know if you talked to Reverend Martin, or did we decide to put that off?
The conversation last month was to wait to invite him until we had everything basically prepared.
Okay, okay.
But I think we could probably do that for either February or March, just a guess.
I think we should just do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did mention in our staff meeting this morning with Mayor Patterson that you all were meeting this evening, and I reported on the agenda, of course, and mentioned the Priestley Ward, and he was happy to hear that this is moving forward.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else about the Priestley Award that anybody wants to add, or?
Well,
I will look for those draft.
I'd like to know what the wording was that we were talking about. The guys talks about. I don't even know what it is. I've never seen anything. I mean, maybe it's mine.
It was another one that we did for the other church. That's all. It was just as a guide, not as.
The language should be in an old email somewhere. If I can find it or remember to find it, I can send it back to everyone. But it'd be nice to at least have that with the updates before we meet with sorry, is he a reverend?
Yeah, Reverend Martin.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, that we should all at least see what we're talking about here.
Okay.
The plaque.
And I'll look for it too. I'll look for the wording, because I know we went through many changes on that. But anyway, I'll see what I can find too. If you find it, that's great. Yeah.
How do we get this by email or something? So,
Sure.
I don't know if I've ever seen.
It was before you.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the Ridges and Pilcher House? What happened with Pilcher House?
We don't know.
We don't know. Huh? Okay.
Well, we discussed it already a little bit. I was at the, I went to it, and they had the usual suspects, but it sounds like 3 people put in bids. One of them was a local attorney, and the bid sheet, it wasn't just, whoever comes up with the highest bidder. They had a lot of rules and regulations that we'll all be very happy with. I think it actually said something about following the historical guidelines, but most importantly, they talked about no tattoo shops, no bars. It's got to be no residential. Basically, it's an office, so we're covered there.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you. Okay, and what about the Ridges? Do we have anything more on the Ridges?
I met 2 or 3 times with the Ridges Advisory Committee. I also was on a panel with the development vice president at the university and with Nellis. That was an invitation to alumni to talk about the Ridges. So I feel like I've been steeped in the Ridges. And then we had a special meeting because our board sent a letter to the president and the board of trustees showing alarm at the state of the roofs of buildings 2, 3, and 4, those western wings off of the main building. Pictures of that, if you remember. At least I sent them to Paul, and hopefully, Paul, you sent them out. I don't know. At any rate, I did speak with Deb Schaefer, VP Finance, and she met with the president, and she identified a couple hundred. This is pretty much literally what it was, how we talked. She identified a couple $100,000 to contribute toward not replacing roofing, but just putting on protective tarps over the holes that are in the roofs of 2, 3, and 4. They're big holes, and there's a lot of damage. It's still structurally, it looked from the photographs as though it was sound. At any rate, she said a couple $100,000 after I pressed her for a number. But the estimates that facilities have put together, the lowest estimate for things to do to just protect the structures is $600,000. So what she put out there was, okay, if we come up with a couple $100,000, we would hope that maybe the city of Athens would come up. Paul, you were there with this conversation? Yeah.
You got it.
Maybe the city of Athens could come up with a couple $100,000, and maybe other people, we could raise a couple $100,000 to add up to that $600,000 amount. There were other estimates, $900,000 if we wanted to do the whole roof and not just roofs and not just cover up the holes. A couple million, I don't know how many million it was to replace the roofs and do even more repair. I mean, you can probably just keep going on and on about costs for taking care of those wings. I drove up around there, and I've got to call into Dominic, the real estate guy. What's his last name?
Brooke.
Brooke. Thank you, Dominic Brooke, because he had a special meeting that I missed on the day that we had our insurrection in Washington. I was otherwise distracted. So things are going. We stirred it up. First of all, there's huge holes in the roofs, and those buildings are at risk. That's one thing that's true. And then we did stir it up. I chose not to write that letter to anybody right now. I felt as though I was deep enough in the ridges and didn't need to add a letter from us to them, thanking them for all the good work they do in historic preservation. I wasn't inspired to do it, so I didn't do it. And I will do it when I think it will be impactful for the group. And I can't give you any further update. I assume I'll hear back from Dominic Brooke, and there are some alumni that have written lots of emails that are excited about this possibility for federal assistance or some other program that might help us. But I'm not going to spearhead anything. I'm just going to be eavesdropping while they try and solve this really difficult problem. And I want to turn it over to Paul to see whether you've had any conversation with the city in terms of any possible contribution.
Thanks, Pam. I can fill in a little bit more detail. With respect to your question about the city, Chris Nisley Chris is also on the Ridges Advisory Commission with Pam and I, as well as Commissioner Eliason and Deb Schaefer, and I think there's one or two others, but I don't. Joe Shields and somebody else. Chris Nisley has it on Council's committee agenda for this evening, actually, to discuss this in a little bit more detail with City Council. And Chris and I both participated in the call last week that Pam was unable to attend for obvious reasons. But part of the conversation we had last week was to try to open up this discussion to more people, try to get better connections to the university with, if we know anybody regionally or at the state or at the federal level, to try to get some conversations going to better understand what kind of funding sources are out there. So we are trying to help with that a little bit. I've been reaching out to folks at Ohio History Connection to try to see if we can set up some sort of a meeting with Bert Logan, who's the director there, as well as Joyce Barrett at Heritage Ohio and the folks at Preservation Ohio. And we've been trying to reach out to some people in DC that people are aware of, whether they're university alumni who are have some pull with preservation people in Washington. And also reaching out to some of our counterparts at the Appalachian Regional Commission, just to better understand kind of what's out there as far as potential sources to help with this issue, sources of money, but also to just let more people know about this in case they either have great ideas that can help solve this problem. Or if they can better connect us with people that might be able to help solve the problem. It's, I'll honestly say it's I'm a little bit frustrated with a lot of this, that the university doesn't have the resources to fix this problem. That being said, I'm put in several hours this morning on this already, looking at a few grants. One of which we found is there's a grant called through the National Park Service called Saving America's Treasures, that we thought we might be eligible for. However, and their grant cycle comes here in the next few couple weeks. It's due, but it says in there, as I was reviewing the eligibility, that they only give funding to projects that are on the National Registry that have been registered for national significance. And when we pulled out the registration documents for the ridges, when it was applied back in 1980, it was booked as being of state significance, not national significance. So we don't believe we have the opportunity to change that registration classification quickly. But we're trying to find somebody at the Department of the Interior who can maybe answer some questions about that grant cycle for us, or that grant process. We're also looking at the national, and I think they have every year the 10 most
endangered.
Thank you. The 10 most endangered properties in America, or something like that. Thank you, Marianne. I think the application for that is due the end of on February 1st, and so we are reaching out to them about getting on that list to try to get more attention to this. And then it's a tough ask. I won't, in my opinion, when you don't have an end use for that building, asking for money to patch something when nobody knows when a ribbon cutting is going to be and what the use is going to be, it's a challenge. In my opinion, it's a real challenge. But
I do think its significance has gone up greatly, though, because so many of those old buildings like that are gone. I don't think there are any. Yeah, there aren't many left, or they've been so remodeled you can't tell.
And I don't think there's probably not a lot with respect to the history of mental health treatment in America. Right. On the National Registry. So I think we all agree with you, Marianne. We think it has value on the national significance at this point. Yeah. Maybe it didn't 40 or 30 years ago.
And what about the state capital budget for this?
That's a good question.
That would be a good project to go for, because that's where you could get the money. And
I'm back.
Yeah.
When I was the planner at the university, I was responsible for the final drafts of those capital requests, the capital plans, and they are biennial. And one of the biennium, we lobbied for and received money to re-roof buildings 13, 14, and 18, which are the eastern wings of the main building. And it's because of that getting that re-roofing done, that those wings have been further renovated, and of course now are completely renovated and ready for occupancy. So I will make a point of talking to Shauna. I will do it before our next meeting, talking to Shauna and to Dominic Brook and probably Don Copeland, who works for Deb Schaefer, to say, I just want our committee, I don't even have to talk about you. I could just say, we want to start a lobby for putting in roofing money for biennium 23, 24, or whatever the next one is, because you do it like a year and a half in advance. Everything has to be done pretty soon, just like Richard was alluding to, like, before the end of this year, you're planning for 3 years from now. So I will take it upon myself to do that.
Yeah,
Because
they received a lot of money in that capital budget bill that just passed last month. It's not enumerated in that same pool that we'd be applying, or that Mount Zion might apply for, or the city would for the Armory. There's a big, I think there's like over $400 million that went to state universities and two-year colleges. So the university got a lot of money in there, I would imagine. I don't know the exact dollar amount, but I bet it's over 10 million.
Absolutely.
That being said, their deferred maintenance list is great. Anybody, we all know that. And I would assume that any deferred maintenance, they're trying to get buildings that are in use right now fixed before they get a building that's not in use fixed. Just my assumption, though.
But that is an assumption, but that's not what happened, is it? When I was the planner, because it was really the physical plant and the physical plant director who was lobbying hard, who said, if you don't get those roofs fixed, you're going to lose that building. So we took him at his word and tried to get that money. Yeah, they usually get like $25 million on every capital. And that's been the pattern, or had been the pattern. I got to be careful. I've been gone a long time, so things definitely could have changed. But I will make sure that there's a squeaky wheel, and that the squeaky wheel is me. And then with your permission, committee, I'll say the squeaky wheel is also our committee, but I can also speak for the Bridges Advisory Board. So you tell me if it's all right with you to mention our commission or committee, whatever we are, and when I have this conversation.
Yes.
Sure is.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Do it.
All right, I'll do it.
Thank you.
And then this laudatory letter that I may or may not write, I will write. I just don't think it would have any impact right now. I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm waiting for the inspiration. So if you'll be patient with me, that'll happen also sometime.
Okay. Thank you. I think that sounds good. And I think, going with something large like that is a good idea, because it will have to be looked at. And, we might get some money out of it anyway with the capital budget. But anyhow, good luck, Pam. I hope that works out.
Well, it's just the beginning of the lobby. It's the first little squeak.
That's what we need, squeaks. So, okay, anybody have anything else to add to that? If not, under new business, and I think we may have talked about this, the capital budget. I think that's what we've been talking about off and on.
Yeah, we did discuss that.
Yeah, that's what
We're done with that.
So, announcements and updates. Does anybody have anything?
Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, Pam. Anything new on our district from the city, Paul? Approval?
Nothing to report. Nothing to report this meeting, John. I'm going to check with our code director to make sure that they've got everything put in order. Now that you're asking, I don't have. He and I haven't touched base on this issue since last month, so I'll see where they are with it. I apologize on that. I should have checked. Before this meeting.
All we need to, I think, all of us need to see is whatever the result is in terms of the documentation from the city as to our responsibilities and where we fit in.
Agreed. Right.
In the application process for the Uptown District that I assume has been approved, right?
Oh yeah, that's all done. Yeah, they wrapped that up last year.
At some point, we're going to be, dealing with actual physical issues in the Uptown District that we've approved. And the city has approved, I should say. Good.
I guess I do have one question. Do we have any update on what happened with gosh, I'm at a loss of the name, Stuart McDonald? Any update on that building?
No, the National Register nomination, I don't know if it's been before the board yet or not.
Yeah, that has been approved. I'm sorry. I did receive, I'll email a copy of the letter if I have it scanned. I did receive that notification in the last couple weeks. Now that you're asking, Guy, so it is on the National Registry.
Good.
That was accepted. Like I said, I'll try to find the details and provide it for you all.
Good. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I
You wanna
mentioned,
look at-
I mentioned to somebody, I thought, whether we wanted to, I almost hate to even say this because it's embarrassing, but maybe it isn't embarrassing. Maybe I'm being, I don't know, stupid. Do we want to update our brochure? Do we want to have a brochure? Do we want to have it updated? We now have a district that is bona fide. So in the brochure, we just had a larger district that was mapped and with saying that we're in the process of asking. But now we have a district and we of course have new membership. Is there any reason for us to have those pieces of paper? No, it's just one piece of paper that you fold in quarters, if I remember. Anybody?
Pam, I think that would be a wonderful thing to provide to anybody that is submitting an application for construction or renovations in the district, that they could see that we are there and what we mean and what this is all about. I'm sure it's going to surprise people that what's this all of a sudden I've got to comply with. To have something in front of them to show what the intent is would be, I think, extremely helpful.
We also talked about notifying local architects, which means like 3 or 4 people, so it's not that hard to do. And give them that information as well, because they're likely to be contacted to provide permitting services for clients. So, all right, anybody else have any feeling about this effort? Because what I would do is I would ask you for a little bit of money out of our deep coffers. And that's a joke for the live people that are listening. You're probably so many of them. And I would call Minuteman and talk to whomever can access that same file and go ahead and make the changes and present it to you, and then need the, $100, $200 to get a handful of these things printed again. That's what would happen. Anybody else? Anybody?
Why don't you put that in the form of a motion? We'll vote on that.
Oh, I suppose. Okay, I move that I update I do the work so that we can update our brochure.
And I'll second that.
All in
Now,
favor?
discussion.
No discussion. Do you want to put the money separately then? Motion for the money?
Up to $500.
Okay. So that's part of this. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I'm thinking that, Paul, these things should go to the city code office and they should be distributed as required somehow as part of the package. I mean, how people going to get this?
Well, they're actually going to be physical. They'll be all folded up, and I'll have them take them over to Paul's office, and Paula can take them down to the code office and hand them to the guys down there.
Well, that's where they have to get sent. I mean, the people that are actually applying for the permits need to be given these brochures. Somehow that has to happen.
Yeah, I still have some of the older, the current version. I believe I still have some in my office. I'll make sure that they get to the code office. Those offices are closed to in-person visits. Everything's really being done either over the phone or on Zoom, or I think at the code office they have like an old Windows slot thing that you do where nobody sets foot in the building except for staff at this point.
That's right. And then there's that. So what's the sense of having
Yeah.
those?
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll work on it.
You need the brochure, though. You do. And I like the idea of giving an office because even the architect who worked on Stuart McDonald wasn't familiar with all the preservation ideas and didn't know that we were here. So I think that would be very helpful.
Well, you know, when we did community design, we ended, and I've told you this before, we ended up actually mailing, stamping, and addressing our brochure to every property owner, a tenant, whatever kind of list we could cobble together that was in our district at the time, to give them a heads up as to what community design was about, which was that tax abatement program that many people used, by the way. So we still can do that with this, but I'm not ready to do that now. But I'm old. I agree with you. Getting something in the mail during these times on a piece of paper sounds wonderful. Just sounds like a real savvy thing to do. But
well, you know, I think it's a tool that they need to have if anybody's actually doing work. And what you just said, Paul, there's no physical contact anymore. So I don't know if a physical brochure is going to actually be of any value. How's that going to work?
which is why I mentioned mailing, which is why I said
That mailing, but that you can mail it to everybody in the world that might do something in our district.
no,
I mean,
you mail it. No, John, you mail it to the property owners and the tenants in our district. That was what we did for community design. But I don't want to push that right now anyhow, because
Well, in any case, it might be an outside architect that is doing something for Follett's bookstore or something. They need to know about us. And, you know, they might not, the Follett's bookstore owners might not be the ones that would, I mean, they're not going to.
You're right. I'm sure there's an exception for everything, John. I'm sure there are exceptions.
No, I'm just saying that somehow or other the code office has got to get this information to the potential project development team, whether it's a brochure or it could be a text or an email or something.
Well, how does the code office get its information out anyway?
So they have the information there. If somebody reaches out to Dave, when we do development, just so of course you guys are all aware, for most things that are permitted, there's a lot of us have eyes on it before an application's even submitted, to try to give guidance to the applicant prior to them submitting everything. We hate for people to submit something and then have to ask for a million more documents or tell them, you just wasted your time. You can't do what you want to do. So we work with people all the time. And so if somebody comes forward or reaches out to David Riggs, and a lot of times they'll reach out to me because they're not sure of the process anyway. David is well aware of it. His staff is well aware. So most of this at this point would be phone calls, and they're going to provide that information. They've got the maps, they've got the ordinances, they have everything there to start the conversation. They also know that if somebody needs more details, they're going to say, call, reach out to Paul. They'll give people my cell phone number, my email, and they'll get those contacts. But I think we're just not seeing much work happening right now. So we've been kind of saying, we'll just wait until people start giving it in. To John's point and Pam's point, if we want to reach out, we can. I don't have any issue just emailing the local architects. I think there's 3 or 4 of them, like you said, Pam, and we know all of them on a first name basis, of course, but I can email BDT and I can email RVC and I can email Trent DeBruin, and not sure who else I'm missing there, but I can just email them and say, just an FYI that this has passed. And, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you want some additional detail, you can join us at a Preservation Commission meeting coming up. And so we can answer some questions to try to address them before you work with your clients. Won't take long. Would you like me to do that? I don't mind doing it.
I would love for you to do that. It's important.
I'll happily do that.
And I think that some kind of a text version of, I mean, you can copy the brochure to send to anybody that
Right.
questions you about development, that would call somebody that's not local, so that you be able to give them this information firsthand, Paul. I mean, it would get to you eventually, yeah.
Mark, the brochure mentions the ordinance that legitimizes us. It also talks about some of the advantages to preservation. It's very short. It also lists the members of the committee and contact information. It's brief. It has a map also that shows the district. That's what the brochure is about. You haven't seen it because I never sent you one.
Meeting, but I'm really excited.
Who just left? Who's coming back? Oh, Guy.
Okay, is there anything else we need to discuss? Sure is a great idea, and I think we did vote yes on that. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
No. How do we get a vaccination? That's what I want to know.
Oh, that's a good question. I'd like to know that too.
I'll tell you how to do it. Move to Florida.
Thank you, John. That's helpful. Very helpful.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, I apologize for being late, but it was, again, technical difficulties on my part. But at any rate, I think we're through. We can adjourn our meeting for tonight, and we'll see you all on February 8th.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.